is going on, my Jets family? What is going on, everybody out there? I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. You got me, Harrison Glazer. Always excited to be talking to you guys about them Jets. Appreciate you guys being here on your Monday evenings, 7 p.m. As always, let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I want to hear what you guys are thinking too. So, again, appreciate you guys being here. Sup, Matthias? Appreciate you, man. Appreciate all you guys that are out there tuning in. Sup, brother? Sup, man? Appreciate you. Good to see you. All you guys out there, again, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I love chatting it up with you guys. You guys are what makes this worth it for me. It's what makes it awesome. So, I wish I was coming to you on a Victory Monday, right? I mean, I wish I was coming to you like, hey, the Jets won. It's Victory Monday. But we have to remember, and again, like always, I want to hear what you guys are thinking, so let me know. But we have to remember that the Jets played the Minnesota Vikings, right? The Minnesota Vikings are 9-2 for a reason. Now 10-2 for a reason. Their defense all week, everyone was talking about how they have one of the worst defenses in football. Not as much at the pass rush, but mainly, in the secondary. Everyone they have such a bad pass defense. But the team is 9-2. Any team that is 9-2 can't be bad at football. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, their passing defense had been bad in the past. But part of my take today, which I want to talk to you guys about with Mike White, their defense was really good. They played really good defense. We knocked their pass defense all week. Well, they must have seen it. They must have been on social media checking us out, seeing, all we were saying about the pass defense. Like, we're going to show them because they played pretty good. And all you guys out there, appreciate you guys tuning in. Like always, let me know what you guys are thinking. Matthias also saying, here, the future looks bright. I agree, man. I do agree. And that's kind of where I want to come at. So after the loss, I went to Twitter, and I'll be honest, you guys let me know what you thought. I thought people were going to be ripping Mike White apart. I'll be honest. The stats, what he did was good, but the stats weren't as good, right? So I thought people were going to be, tearing him apart a little bit, but I was really happy what I was seeing. Everyone was talking about how well he played. Everyone was talking about all the big plays he made and the big throws he made. And that got me really pumped because I want to bring it up right here to share with you guys. I felt the exact same way. Like, I literally felt the exact same way. So all you guys out there, appreciate you guys being, let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know your guys' thoughts. But like we were saying, the Minnesota Vikings, they're now 10-2. They were 10-2 for a reason. They're a top team in the NFL. They're a playoff team. And their defense played well. So Matthias also points out we need more games and we have a playoff game. That's a fact, man. That's a fact. Right? We can totally get to the playoffs. So, and we're in the playoffs right now, right? We got lucky with the Chargers losing. We're in the playoffs right now, man. So everyone's calling, the Viking game a wash. Again, kind of like, my take, and, you guys, again, let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know your guys' thoughts. But my kind of take was, even though we lost the game, I liked what I saw. And again, this defense for the Minnesota Vikings played very well. Their pass defense didn't give up very much. So we've seen in many games past, one thing that we really like about, well, not many games, but in the games we've seen, one thing I really like, and a lot of people really like about Mike White, is he takes exactly what the defense gives him, right? That's a big, great trait of Mike White, right? Which we've mentioned in the past, talking about it here. That's something Tom Brady did, right? I mean, we hate Tom Brady. We say, fuck Tom Brady. Fuck Tom Brady and all the shit he gave us. Yo, what's up, Jets mess? Jets mess. Three messes. Three messes. Jets mess. What's up, brother? What's going on, man? Appreciate you. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Good to see all you guys. Like always, let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know your thoughts. But back to Mike White. So Mike White, like we were just saying, and again, fuck Tom Brady, right? Let's just start with fuck Tom Brady. But Tom Brady was amazing at taking what the defense gives him, right? He would take what the defense gives him all the way into the playoffs and then all the way into a Super Bowl. That's what a lot of great quarterbacks do, right? Mike White talked about just the other week, and one of the favorite things I liked about what he said when they asked him about, past games, like the Bills game, for example, he said that one thing he doesn't want to do is play hero ball, right? That he doesn't, that most NFL defenses, aren't going to give you a lot. They want to get you to take risks and potentially make bad decisions, but you have to be smart, do the right. Basically, in the nutshell is what he was saying. You have to be smart, do the right things, and not play hero ball. That's not how football is won in the NFL. I loved that. We talked about that, right? That's awesome. Like we said, one of the things that a lot of people love about Mike White, and I've noticed, and many have noticed about Mike White, he's a cool dude, right? He's a calm, collected, cool dude, right? Like he's got that mentality, like we said, with Zach Wilson. Remember that first game he came back in, he brings the energy, right? That was his thing. Or again, we don't know, the truth is what we're hearing, right? But from here, right, all the teammates of his said, in the first game he was back in on that last drive, he's like, let's go get a fucking touchdown. Mike White's more like, we got this. Like, don't worry. Remember, winking at the camera, like, don't worry, we got this. Mike White is Mr. Cool. He's Joe Cool. He keeps it cool, which you gotta freaking love. So I think I'm pretty sure all you guys out there, let me know, what you guys are thinking. But with Mike White, we say he takes exactly what the defense gives him, right? And like we were saying before, with guys like Tom Brady, you can take what the defense gives you all the way into the playoffs, all the way into the damn Super Bowl, right? But there's going to be games like this Minnesota game where the defense isn't going to give you much, if anything at all. That's what really kind of happened here. And we saw that in the beginning of the game. Throws that were behind wide receivers weren't exactly on target. Plays that looked like they weren't really well drawn up plays because the Vikings were actually playing really good coverage. Go back and see their coverage was sticky. They were playing well. Again, maybe they were, hearing us say things, about how their defensive pass defense wasn't as good, but they played well. Again, a 9-2 team, now 10-2. They have that record for a reason. So they played really good defense. Mike White really couldn't take what the defense was going to give him. He had to make things happen. That was kind of what happened here. He had to make things happen. Now, the way I look at it, again, want to hear what you guys think as well. Don't want to, again, Zach is a young learning quarterback, right? And I still believe he can be the guy, right? I've said it before. He's a young kid. He's still developing. He could totally develop and totally become a great quarterback. Show us all those things that we loved about him in BYU that I loved about him. Remember, you guys, I'm not denying it here, that I was one of the people that said he could be a great quarterback. But what we've seen him do in those situations when that he, has to, put it on his back, right? And like Mike White did yesterday, like we said, usually taking what the defense gives him, that wasn't there. He had to make things happen. He didn't make bad plays. He didn't make bad throws. He didn't get frazzled, right? He kept his cool, which again, Joe Cool, right? I'm gonna Joe Cool's Flacco. We'll call Mike Cool, Mike Cool, keeping his cool, not letting the moment be too big for him, right? Making really awesome throws. And that's what I want to talk about. Matthias points it out right here. That throw to Davis in the middle of the field. I know what you're talking about, bro. That fourth down throw. That fourth down throw to Davis in the middle of the field. Bro, that was baller. And that's the point. Mike came to play this game. And that was my takeaway with this. And one of the biggest guys, shout out, I saw it on Twitter, Michael Nania pretty much he put some awesome video up. So excuse me, you guys. He put some awesome video up, put together a compilation of what I was seeing. So I shared it out on Twitter and I saw it. Like I wrote the tweet this morning. I'd saved it. I was going to put it out and I saw his videos. And I was like, this is awesome. So Mike, shout out to Nanya, totally had the same kind of take. Mike White, like we just said, always taking what the defense gives him. The defense wasn't giving him anything. He had to make things happen. He was pretty freaking fantastic, in my opinion. Now, if you look at the numbers wouldn't show that. He has a Zach Wilson-like 50-something% completion percentage. But he threw the ball 57 times. Let's make something clear. I don't care who you are. No quarterback should be throwing the ball 57 times. That is just a fact. They asked Robert Saleh about it after the game, and he pretty much reiterated the same thought, trying to bring it up. I had it. I think I have it right here. Yeah, he pretty much reiterated the same thought. They asked him about Mike White throwing 57 passes. He said, you never want to have that. Pointed out we were playing catch up. He said, I felt like the running game was good in spurts, but couldn't punch it in. You never want to throw that much, but sometimes that's what it calls for. So that was his way again in coach speak of saying the running game wasn't there. The running game, even though Zonovan McKnight was really solid. And I do want to talk about that with you guys. I want to talk about how freaking awesome Zonovan Knight was. So we're gonna come back to him because we're talking about Mike White. So let's put a pin in Zonovan. If you guys want to remind me later, in case we forget, because we go down some rabbit holes, we forget to bring it up, let me know. But we're putting a pin in Zonovan. We're coming back to Zonovan because Zonovan balled, bro. Zonovan was freaking awesome. So back to Mike White, though. He had to make things happen. It wasn't just take what the defense is giving you. He threw the ball excellently. I saw him throwing the football, and again, shout out to Nanya. He found like almost every play I was thinking of. It was awesome. He threw the ball into unbelievably tight windows, and he had to do that by reading the field and making a decision because, again, the defense wasn't giving him anything. So I know everyone's saying, oh, it was against the bad defense. It was against the bad defense. Well, yeah, statistically, that's a fact. But you and me, we talk about this all the time. It's any given Sunday for a reason, right? Players play well sometimes, worse sometimes. Numbers, ranking, it can change because they're human beings, right? We've seen great quarterbacks have shit games. We've seen bad, okay quarterbacks have legendary games. It's because they're human beings. The Vikings, again, people want to point out they were a bad pass defense. They were not a bad pass defense yesterday. That is a fact. And people want to say, oh, well, Mike White shredded and threw for almost 400 yards. Well, again, he threw the ball 57 times. Like Robert Saleh said, you shouldn't be throwing the ball 57 times. Let's just make that abundantly clear. But that being the case, he played really, really freaking well. So that we talk about mistakes he might have made, right? That first interception, you guys, you saw me on Twitter. I was talking about it. The PI was ridiculous. And it was like, they always screw us, right? Like the refs always screw us. They always make bad calls against us, right? We see it all the time over the years. But this was just like so blatant. You know what I mean? Like this was just so like normally it's a little hidden, like shit, man. Like Corey was 100% being mugged. Like that dude was all over him before the ball got there. And I was like, wait a minute, it was only a few yards because I'm like, why is it not PI? And then they show the replay and I'm like, so that turned into an interception, which was his first interception. And he only threw two. That first interception, which was 100% not his fault and not actually an interception. That could have changed, and it did for a while, the entire momentum of the game, right? We were marching a little down the field, a couple of plays. All of a sudden, this bullshit play, right? And now they have the ball. We have no points. They have the momentum. That's huge, right? We were down 20-3 at one point. We have to remember that. We were down 20-3 at one point, and we came back. So, on that, the other PI, you guys remember, the one to Denzel Mims, that made me crazy too. The cornerback didn't even turn around. The cornerback wasn't even looking. But yeah, the cornerback wasn't even looking. Like it was crazy. Like the corner was completely looking at Denzel Mims. Like wasn't even like it was ridiculous. He ran right into him. That was insanity. Like literally insanity. So cornerback runs right into him. That wasn't called. They called a bunch of holds on us, but they didn't call that stuff. But so other than that, that was the first interception. The only other interception Mike White had was at the end of the game. And like Robert Saleh pointed out, he was trying to make something happen. Like Mike White said, I'm not playing hero ball. But when you have the ball with no time left, with no timeouts, with no downs left in the freaking red zone, that is hero ball time. And that's the point. He was pretty much, about to get hit. They were kind of all over him. He took a chance and threw a ball up. That was a risky ball. That was really, I would arguably say, the only one. He had that miss to Garrett Wilson, but that was the only risky ball he threw. You know what I mean? And again, end of the game, right? End of the game, trying to make something happen. So again, let me know what you guys are thinking, what your guys' thoughts are, if you agree, disagree. But I really liked what I saw. Again, can we say now definitively, right? Definitively, is Mike White our franchise quarterback? We do need to see more. I mean, it's in a small sample size, but we have to be really, really impressed with what we're seeing in this small sample size. So, shout out to Charles. Charles points out Mike White needs to be the guy or you will have a revolt. Bro, Mike White is a hunt. And so I want to, again, I'm a Jet fan like you guys. We've been hurt before, right? We've been hurt before. I really want to say, after what I saw over these last few weeks, right? Remember, I said that Bengal game was in a small sample size, right? We talked about that. He could ball out in that last game, the one before this last week, and he did. What he did today, we said, today could be the decider. It wasn't a huge game, but I really do feel confident. That's what I want to say. Like, we've been hurt before. So definitively it can't be said, right? But I really, really want to feel pretty confident in saying that I feel like Mike White can be the franchise quarterback, like in what we're seeing right now. So again, I agree, like everyone says, we have to see more, right? We have to see more, but he's only played 5 career starts, right? Remember what I said last week? We talked about it. If Zach Wilson had done what Mike White did in his first 4 career starts, people would have been like, right? People would have been like, holy crap, he's here, right? Remember again, like if Zach Wilson had done what Mike White had done, they would have been like, he threw for 400 and change yards. He had a 3 touchdown game. No one in Jet history had done that, right? All the records that Mike White has set, right? The records he set in that Bengal game, the record he set in the other game. The dude played 4 games and he set records in 2 of them. Like before this last game, right? He had played 4 games career starting and he had records in 2 of them. So Italy Jet, appreciate you, bro. My man, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Listen to me talk about them Jets. I want to know what you guys think as well. But again, we're talking about with Mike White, and my big thing is, so shout out to Agent Joe. Agent Joe says, watching a few select plays, final play, and there was definitely another read there. Didn't have to try and force the throw. Final play. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. That was the hero ball, right? Mike White said, I don't play hero ball, right? That was what Mike White said, right? Like, I don't play hero ball. That's what the defense tries to get you to do, right? They shut things down. They try to frazzle you. They try to make you make something happen. Again, like we were just saying before, the Vikings did that to Mike White, and that was what I thought was really important, right? We kept saying Mike White is great at taking what the defense gives him. Well, we got to see firsthand what Mike White does when the defense doesn't give him something to work with. That is exactly what we saw, right? He had to make things happen. Like we said, we saw in the beginning of the game, throws that were slightly behind receivers, plays that were slightly off tempo. It was because the coverage was so good, right? We said before, everyone was crapping on the Vikings defense, right? And how low they are. Yeah, they're statistically ranked low, but they showed up. Again, that team was 9-2 and now 10-2 for a reason. You don't win all those games for no reason. So yeah, they played really well, and Mike White had to make things happen. And guys, I loved the decision making. I loved his throw accuracy. I loved the reads he made and then the decision he made. And on top of that, just the accuracy, some of those throws, like we were just saying, that play to Elijah Moore in the sideline that he should have caught, right? We could have said that Elijah Moore should have really caught that. His footwork was off, right? And the pass to Braxton Berrios, even though Braxton missed it, it was on target, right? Unbelievable throws to Garrett Wilson, unbelievable throws to Mims again. I watched it all game. Shout out to Michael Nania. He basically put them all together. I love it. And as you guys saw, I put it out on Twitter, literally unbelievable throws, like throws into tight windows where he had to make the decisions. Again, not just taking what the defense gives him, but the point is he will if they give it to him. And like we said before, I hate Tom Brady with every fiber of my being. I know we all do, but he won many Super Bowls taking what the defense gives them. So that's an amazing trait to have. But like this last Sunday, what can Mike White do when the defense doesn't give him something to work with? Well, I thought we saw some pretty amazing shit. I really do. So shout out to all you guys again. I want to know what you guys think. But Jeff's saying, no need to decide right now, which is true. We don't have to make a decision right now. We're Jet fans. We're having the conversation, right? We got to talk about it, right? We got to discuss it. And, what do we think? And I want to know what you guys think too. Let me know your guys' thoughts. So like Jeff's saying, no need to decide right now. Mike White should finish the season and then have a competition next summer. You can most likely, obviously, Zach Wilson isn't going anywhere. We're not trading him. And I want to point that out as well. We gave up a second overall pick for Zach Wilson, right? Think about, even if Mike White proves to be the guy right now, I guess a fair trade could come, but think about the argument we made with Elijah Moore, right? Elijah Moore is obviously starting to ball out right now, which is great. He's finally got the right attitude. He's saying the right things about winning games, right? Someone's in his ear telling him you got to talk about winning games. It's not about you. It's about winning games. Say the right thing. He's saying the right thing, right? And he's making plays. But we have to remember, excuse me, that when he wanted to potentially get a trade, we talked about that it wasn't going to happen, not just because they didn't want to trade him, but also it wasn't feasible. No one was going to give us what we would have considered fair value for an almost first round pick with nothing proven, right? Zach Wilson, again, we all still believe he can be the guy. I'm not saying he can't be. If he can come out and prove to be amazing, right? Let's say Mike White balls out, right? If Mike White, and there's so many ifs, and that's what's so beautiful about this, guys, and I think you'll agree, we're in the playoffs right now, baby. Let's take that, right? Like, even though we lost this game, we're in the freaking playoffs, right? Like, Mike White can totally ball out, totally win some games. What if he wins a playoff game or two? Like, that's a conversation to have, right? Like, what if Mike White takes us to the playoffs and wins a playoff game or two? I don't want to get too crazy because my head will pop and yours guys will too. But we've talked about it before. I pointed out on Twitter, Philadelphia Eagles have shown that you can win a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, right? Eagles have shown that is possible. You can do that. So once you make the playoffs, everything else goes out the window. It's just about winning and continuing to win. Doesn't matter what your record was. Doesn't matter where you came from. Only matters where you're going. But man, we're in the playoffs right now, guys. Even though we lost that game, we are in the playoffs. How awesome is that? We haven't been in the playoffs in 12 years. And Mike White is balling, guys. Again, in this game, the numbers don't look great. He threw the ball 57 times. Like, it's just insanity. He should never have been throwing the ball that much. And what we saw, again, in the times where he had to make really big throws, I loved it. That throw to Garrett Wilson on the sideline, let's talk about that one for a sec, right? Like, shout out to Matthias, right? Matthias pointed out that beautiful dink to Corey Davis on that fourth down. That was absolutely beautiful too. A lot of beautiful throws. That was the point. A lot of beautiful throws that were excellent decisions, right? We talked about it just the other week. What were the things we were commenting about Zach Wilson, right? That he can't read the field. That's what Mike White's been doing. That he's not throwing accurately. That's literally what Mike White is doing. He's doing all the things we want from a franchise quarterback. And he's only 27 years old. He's still a young dude, right? We've seen quarterbacks playing into their 40s. There's no reason if he becomes great, let's say, if Mike White becomes great, there is no reason that he can't be great for 10 plus years. He's not an old dude. He's a fifth round pick that never got his opportunities. Like I said, I felt like, just the other week, I said we were all looking at it wrong. Here's a fifth round pick who's had significantly more adversity and significantly less opportunity. And we're judging him with more judgment, right? We're giving him a shorter leash than guys like Zach. And like we said before, if Zach had put up what Mike did in his first 4 games, excuse me, if Zach had done what Mike did in his first 4 games, we would have been like, holy crap, we found the guy. He has a 400-yard game, 3+ touchdowns. What does he do 2 weeks ago? He has 300 yards, almost an 80% completion percentage, and no interceptions, showing that he's learning. And again, we talked about this last game. First pick ain't his fault. That shit was bullshit, guys. That PI was ridiculous. And like we said, changed the whole momentum of the game. We can't forget that it was 20-3. It was 20 to 3 at one point, and we had to dig our way back. And that's what Robert Saleh pointed out. He said like we said earlier, and I read Robert Saleh's quote, that we had to throw the ball so much because we had to dig our way back. Well, that was a huge, huge momentum changer. That was bullshit. That dude was like literally on Corey's back. Like when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. Like even with the replay, I'm like, he was so blatantly there. It was insanity. Then the Mims one, like we talked about, Corner didn't even turn his head. He just ran into Denzel. Like it was ridiculous. Like didn't even try to look up. He just ran right into him head first, looking right at him. It was ridiculous. So Jeff points out the one I wanted back was the go route. Yeah, man, that go route to GW, Garrett Wilson down the right sideline. He just overthrew him. And it wasn't a lot, right? It wasn't like he overthrew him by a lot, but it was just enough. And Garrett broke it, baby. We saw that in the replay. Like everyone, I think Nania too, like everyone was putting that out. I saw it on Twitter because everyone was like, look, Garrett Wilson beat everybody. The safety was level with him. The corner was behind him. It was over if he caught that. It was off by a little bit. And you know what? Again, we have to remember we were looking at Zach as just a rookie, now a second-year kid, right? Why aren't we looking at Mike White the same way? He'd never played other than the preseason before this. So he had his first rookie kind of season last year. Now's like his second year. He's only played 5 games. He holds Jet records. He holds NFL records. And again, what I loved, what I saw, and you guys remember, I've talked about with Zach Wilson in the past, just like with my eval on him, that BYU game against Coastal Carolina, right? Everyone was like, that was a horrible game. I was like, yeah, if you're a BYU fan, if you were evaluating Zach, it was a beautiful game because everyone, and I kept pointing out too, he wasn't seeing pressure in the past. His O-line was so damn good. The Coastal Carolina game was the first game I saw him under duress, and I liked what I saw. So with Mike White, this was a telling game. He's fantastic at taking what the defense gives him, and who doesn't love that, right? Like we said, I spit Tom Brady, fuck Tom Brady, right? But he's the king of taking what the defense gives him, right? He'll take what the defense gives him all the way to the freaking Super Bowl, right? Excuse me. Mike White did that, but like we said this last week, he had to show what he can do when that's not there. Like I said, the Viking defense was good. The coverage was sticky. Go back and watch it. I saw it firsthand. The coverage was sticky. Nobody was getting really open. A couple of guys were getting open, but if you look at the plays, when he hit Garrett on even that 60-yard catch, it was between 2 dudes. If that pass was just a yard, if that pass was a yard off target, there was a good chance it was intercepted because go back and watch the play. There were 2 dudes next to him. If you remember, Garrett caught it and then pinballed himself and then took it off down the sideline. He was able to do that because of how perfect the throw was. You guys remember last week I mentioned that one with Elijah Moore, right? That Elijah Moore caught a ball between 2 guys, right? It was like a line. You had a defender, and Elijah in the middle. The throw was so perfect. Elijah was able to catch it, stop, spin and break, and make a move because the throw was so accurate. So again, just when watching Mike White, and go back, please watch. I put it up on Twitter because Nanya shared it. Shout out to Nanya, put the film together. I put it out as well so you guys can see it. I retweeted it. But unbelievable throws, right? Under plays where he was under duress too. We have to remember that. Mike White, being a smart dude, and I put it out on Twitter, he said it during the week, right? That he was wary about Zadarius Smith and Daniel Hunter. He was wary about both those guys, said they have a pretty good pass rush, and they were in his face a lot. A lot of the plays where Mike White made really good, accurate throws, he was simultaneously getting hit. He was getting hit on a bunch of those good throws, or at minimum, he was under duress. His ass was moving. So we got to see Mike White on pretty much in like a perfect sample size. There were plays where he had a clean pocket. There were plays where he was getting pummeled in the face. And there were plays that he was under duress and had to make something happen. There was basically no plays where the defense gave him anything, right? I think they went into it saying that Mike White is like Tom Brady, taking what the defense gives him. You can't give him shit. And they didn't give him shit. He had to make things happen. And guys, again, beautiful, beautiful, Beautiful fucking throws, right? Excellent decision making because all those throws had to be precisely thrown, and he didn't throw it to the wrong guy, right? He didn't throw it to the wrong guy that wasn't open. Like I said, the only really risky, oh my God, cowboy throw, right? Like Mike White says, the hero ball was that last throw. Like I think Jeff or Agent Joe, one of you guys, I appreciate both of you guys, one of you pointed it out. It made sense, right? That's the time, the whole game, playing smart, making good decisions. Now you have no time left. You have no downs left. You need a touchdown to win. Yeah, and he was being hit. Watch the play. He was literally about to be hit. I'm trying to remember if he was about to be hit or being hit in the process. Either way, it was one of them. He was about to be hit or he was in the process of being hit. And he threw that ball and it got intercepted. But other than that, that was it. So, excuse me. Shout out to Agent Joe. Agent Joe says Wilson isn't going to start unless the team has zero shot at the postseason. Given the slate of games we have over the next few weeks, this could come down to the final weeks and no Zach Wilson. I think what Robert Saleh said, again, it's coach speak, right? That's how we have to look at it. He can't, and I remember I took it when he first said that, right? We talked about it just the other week when he said it, right? Remember I took you guys through my thought process, right? Right after that baller game, like the almost 80% completion percentage, 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, no interception, game by Mike White, right? Robert Saleh says that when Zach Wilson's back, he's going to play. I remember I took you guys, I was like, wait, what the fuck? Wait a minute, hold on. So I even took you through my thought process, right? And I took you through what I was thinking, but we came to the fact it's coach speak, right? He can't say this too. Obviously, we don't know 100% if Mike White can be the guy, and we don't 100% know if Zach Wilson can't be the guy, right? Those two are facts. So you can't say definitively one way or the other. Zach is the second overall pick. If he says there's no chance he sees the field, you can't say that, right? So it's basically, as we talked about it just, on last week and we dissected, took you guys through my thought process together. We came up with him basically saying it's Mike White's job to lose, right? He's basically saying it's Mike White's job to lose, excuse me, right? And what he did this last game, again, if you look at the numbers, they're not great, but we can't always look at the numbers, right? So Agent Joe also points out there was so much PI. Thought Magnum was on the field. That's funny, bro. I like that one. That's funny, bro. That was ridiculous. Those PIs, like that was insanity. Like that dude was on Corey, like on him, like not even like behind him, like on him. He was on freaking Corey. Like I bet after the play, Corey was like, "You got to buy me dinner first, bro." Like shit. And then the other guy he didn't even pretend to turn his head to try to fake it. He just ran right into Denzel. He looked him in the eyes. He's like, "I'm going to bowl you over." He just ran right freaking into him. Crazy, man. Crazy. So shout out to all you guys. Appreciate, let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Shout out Benny. Appreciate you, Bo Bernie. Haven't seen you before. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you being on the show and listening. Benny says Berrios catches. Berrio catches that. There's no question. He'd be our starter. And that's kind of the point, right? Not only that one, what about that throw to Elijah Moore? I thought about that one too, right? That was a really nice throw to Elijah. You go back to watch it. His feet weren't exact. I think he was stepping out of bounds. He missed the catch. If he caught that, things change, right? If we get that touchdown at the end of the game, the whole dialogue changes, right? And yeah, Berrios catches that. I think Mike White pointed out, shout out to, Mike White. He pointed out that Berrios, that wasn't his exact route. Like that wasn't what he was supposed to do. He basically saw something and tried to cut back, basically. So good heads up for that. But you got to make the play. You got to make the play. Like you're in the end zone. You have to make the play. Berrios is the reliable dude, right? Like that's what we know about Berrios. He's Mr. Reliable. So that was tough. Yeah, that was definitely tough. But yeah, Berrios makes that catch. We win the game, right? Elijah Moore makes that catch. Excuse me. Elijah Moore makes that catch on the sideline. We win the game, right? So, so many different options, but that's really so coming back to, just finishing up with Mike White, I told you guys, what I'm thinking, what I like, and, all the different, I really liked what I saw. I really, really liked what I saw in Mike White in this last game because, again, had to make things happen, made really, really great throws, accurate throws, smart throws, and a lot of big plays, right? Garrett Wilson balled out. Let's talk about that for a second. How about this statistic? I love this statistic. I don't know if you guys saw this one, but I love this statistic. How about the fact that Garrett Wilson only had 11 yards less than the entire Vikings team? Oh man, right? Like, how about that one, right? Like, forget Justin Jefferson. They shut Justin Jefferson down. And they asked DJ Reed, after the game, where is it bringing up right here to share with you guys? They asked DJ Reed after the game, and I don't know if you guys knew this, and I pointed it out on Twitter. DJ Reed actually said that when he woke up that morning on Sunday, he said his chest was really tight. He said there was fluid in his chest. He said on the play he came out, he literally felt like he couldn't breathe. He said he was on oxygen the whole game, and he was super, super winded. So DJ wasn't even 100. Like, I didn't know. Like, that was crazy. Obviously, he came out a couple of plays. We thought maybe there was a, reasoning one or another. At the end of the game, again, he makes this statement. He's wearing a mask. She wasn't okay. So DJ Reed wasn't even 100%. He shut Justin Jefferson down except for that last play, right? So let's talk about that one. They asked DJ Reed about that, and it bothered him, right? He said, and I like how he started it, right? They asked DJ Reed about covering Justin Jefferson, and he said, I was in his shit all game. Oh, I love that. Like, and he's sick, right? DJ Reed, he's sick, right? He's got fluid in his chest. He's feeling like shit. He's saying, I was in Justin Jefferson's shit all game. He said he's frustrated because he didn't want to give up that touchdown, and he obviously doesn't want to be the reason his team loses. We know there's a myriad of factors. It can't just be that, but you could potentially attribute it to that as one of the factors, right? So he's upset about that, which is what you want. You want your guy to be like, I don't want to give up anything. But like he said, other than that one play, I felt I did a great job containing him. He did. And if you guys remember, I pointed it out, on Twitter. I thought he was going to be shadowed by Sauce. I really did. I figured it was going to be Sauce and Justin Jefferson. Like, I'm like, okay, we know Justin Jefferson, like, we've seen him play. He's being labeled as potentially the next greatest wide receiver of all time, right? Like, this dude makes insane catches. I've watched games where the announcers have said his name and Jerry Rice's in the same sentence. If your name gets mentioned in the same breath as Jerry Rice, then there's something special about you. He's potentially the next greatest wide receiver of all time. And you guys know how I feel about Sauce. We've talked about it, right? Nobody. There ain't anybody who's ever played in this league that has done what Sauce has done this year. Again, shutting down the best wide receivers in the NFL like it's nothing. Putting up passer ratings less than throwing it in the dirt like it's nothing. Literally, like the best in the league being thrown at Sauce as a rookie. And he's like, what else you got? Like, Sauce looks like he could be the next greatest corner of all time. So we were all like, man, give me that Sauce and Justin matchup. But we weren't even thinking DJ could cover him, bro. We saw that in the beginning of the game. And again, he let up that last touchdown, right? DJ let up that touchdown to Justin Jefferson, and he said he's upset about that. He even put out on Twitter, I'm going to do better. Excuse me. Right? He even put out on Twitter that I'm going to do better. But again, other than that, he shut Justin Jefferson down. Like he said, that first sentence was more accurate, man. He said, I was in his shit all game. And he was. So, man, even freaking DJ was shutting down Justin Jefferson. That's how good our corners are. Even DJ Reed can cover a wide receiver like freaking Justin Jefferson. So again, Garrett Wilson, I love this stat, you guys. I love it. Garrett Wilson had 162 yards. Freaking killed it, man. Had that unbelievable 60-yard catch, averaged over 20 yards per catch, had a career high in targets, which was 15, shit ton of targets, and yards, 162 yards. The Vikings had total, altogether, 173 receiving yards. Again, Garrett Wilson almost single-handedly had as many receiving yards as the entire Vikings freaking team. Justin Jefferson didn't even break 50 yards and averaged almost 6 yards a catch. Locked down, except for that like one or two plays. Freaking awesome, man. Our secondary was awesome. Again, that statistic alone is incredible. And Garrett Wilson balled the hell out. So appreciate all you guys. Shout out to all you guys out there. Appreciate you, Jets gang. Always good to see you, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you tuning in. He said, "Is that is that?" I think it's four. I think you're thinking four. He said, "Is that for if?" Trying to my bad, bro. I think you're saying if Mike White loses versus the Bills, will Zach Wilson get a chance again? Right? Like, yeah, you're saying basically, is that it for Zach Wilson? And if Mike White loses against the Bills, does basically Zach Wilson get another chance? Well, I feel like, again, what we were talking about before, and again, nothing against Zach, right? I've said it before. I mentioned to you guys here again, full disclosure, right? I still think he could become a great quarterback, right? He's got to reset, right? I mean, we talked about it that game he had against the freaking Patriots, right? We talked about it that game. Like, it was insane. Like, he wasn't even doing the things that we fell in love with. Like I mentioned, that's what Robert Saleh said, the same thing, right? That he needs to get back to the things that we thought would make him a great quarterback, right? See, he's getting a reset. And resets aren't quick. You know what I mean? Like, and I mentioned that the other week too. Like, we want the kid to actually reset. You have to give him time to do that. What you're saying, and again, what Robert, I don't have the whole quote in front of me. If you guys remember, I put it out on Twitter. I think I still have it as my pinned tweet. I think it's still my pinned tweet. So if you guys check it out, it is still up there. That whole full quote from Robert Saleh, the benching of Zach Wilson. Excuse me. Excuse me, literally saying that he has to get back to his fundamentals. He has to get back to those things that we fell in love with. That takes time. You're basically saying he's got to fix it, right? An actual reset. So I'm worried if he's not there and you throw him back out, does he fall back into the same mistakes? That's something you got to think about, right? Reset should take time by definition of it. If you put him out too soon, and I'd love to hear what you guys think, let me know your guys' thoughts. If you put him in too soon, does that screw it all up? Does he, not fully reset and then he falls back into old habits? Again, I'm loving, and I mentioned to you guys, I'm loving what Mike White is doing. I really do feel like, even though we lost that game, even though the statistics don't show it, we just talked about all the reasons why. I really do. I'm feeling it, you guys. I'm afraid to say it. I'm afraid to say it because I'm a Jet fan, just like you guys. We've been hurt, right? We've been hurt. Like, I'm afraid to say it. But I really feel like after what I saw this week, again, when the defense isn't giving him the easy plays, what does he do? In everything we talked about, I really feel like we might have a franchise quarterback in Mike White. Again, we need to see more, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And a fifth round pick, guys. Oh, come on. Since when does shit go our way, right? Since when is it like, well, our defense is great, one of the best in the league, our offense is stacked, we fell into a quarterback, right? Mike White happened to be the guy. If that turns out to be the case, how awesome is that, right? Like, how freaking beautiful is that? So Jets King does point out, and wins do matter, right? Like, I remember I joked about it, the other week when we talked. I think it was a few weeks ago. People were talking. I pointed out, that Zach Wilson was 5-2 against top NFL defenses, top NFL secondaries, and people were saying, that wins is not a metric to measure quarterbacks by. And yeah, if you want to measure a quarterback's skill level, there's totally better metrics to measure him by, right? Measure him by, completion percentage, how he does under duress, how he throws and what he does in different situations. But wins matter, right? Wins matter. Wins, we talked about this, right? All that matters at the end of the day is the W, right? You fall into enough W's, you make the playoffs. You win in the playoffs, you win the Super Bowl. You win the Super Bowl, no one gives a shit if you fell ass backward into half of your wins. It don't matter. So W's matter. So yeah, it's not the greatest metric to maybe measure somebody by, but it matters for the team, for the whole. If he's the guy behind center the team's winning by, that's awesome. I really do feel like, and again, from what I've seen, we could have won that game, right? Our defense, like it's consistently done, kept us in that Viking game. And again, I can't stress enough what I started you guys with, my beginning take. The Vikings were 9-2 for a reason. They're now 10-2 for a reason. You don't have they beat our whole conference. The whole conference. They beat our conference is our division. Sorry. Our division is arguably one of the best in football. And they beat our whole freaking division. Yes, their defense, like we said, their passing defense is statistically ranked low. But you don't become 10-2 for no reason. They showed up. So I want to, talk about all your guys' comments. Appreciate them. But, like Jets Gang said, Mike White won 1 game out of 7. I think we could have won that game. I really do. We were in it till the end. Mike White made a lot of really good throws. I really like what I saw in Mike White, right? And if Zach Wilson, who hasn't looked as good as Mike White, can win these games, like we said, we went against a really good team. We went against a really good team in Minnesota. If Zach Wilson can win all these games with the defense just doing enough, with Mike killing it, I don't know, man. I think we might be looking at the end of the season with a couple of good wins. Like, I'm really excited to see this Buffalo game. Granted, I want to talk about that quick. Buffalo is going to want a little revenge, right? Like, let's call, I want to bring it up to show you guys. I wrote it down. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. Here we go. I wanted to bring it up just to show you guys. We're going into Buffalo, right? They are going to want revenge, right? I mean, we cooked on Josh Allen, right? Let's remember that. We cooked on his ass, right? Like, he didn't have that terrible a game. We made him play that. Our pass rush, we talked about it after the game, right? We were all psyched. Our pass rush was freaking relentless. They were all over him, and our DBs were so sticky, they were giving him nada. So they played him, and they're going to want revenge. So we do have to remember that. I feel like the Bills are going to want revenge, and we're in Buffalo. So let's just remember that. So Jenny points out that Jefferson tried to talk shit to Reed on Twitter. Funny stuff. He was shut down. Reed responded and was classy about it. I got to go check that out because I actually didn't see it. It might have happened. Did it happen today? I'm not, because I was working all day. You guys know, I have a very cumbersome job, working long hours. But I actually didn't see it. But man, Reed shut his ass down. Like we said, it was that one play at the end. But like Reed said, other than that one play, he contained him. I think, Justin Jefferson just said something because the way Reed started it, Reed literally said, I'm going to quote exactly. I want to unquote. I was in his shit all game. I think that's what got Justin Jefferson going. Excuse me. And again, he was. He freaking was. Guys, just give me 1 sec. He was absolutely in his shit all game. Like we said, I thought Sauce was going to be shadowing him. I thought wherever Justin went, Sauce followed, right? We were saying like the potential greatest of all time, next greatest of all time wide receiver against the potential next greatest of all time corner. I was like, sign me up. I've been talking about it for 2 weeks. But DJ, man, he impressed. He lined up against Justin Jefferson and shut the dude down. Gave up that touchdown at the end of the game. But we have to remember he was sick. Like, DJ Reed's literally at the end of the game got a mask on, telling us how he's got fluid in his lungs, how he could barely breathe on the field. I'm like, shit. Like, I can't believe he played. Like, based on the things he was saying, I'm like, I can't even believe he played. So, man, we got to keep that in mind. DJ Reed shut Justin Jefferson down except for that last touchdown, and he wasn't even close to 100%. Like, he said he could barely breathe out there. So Benny points out it's Mike White's play versus Zach Wilson's. Mike right now is head and shoulders above Zach. If you look at it metrically, you got to give it to him. I mean, like we say, I pointed out just the other week, and, we just said it now. If Zach Wilson had done what Mike White's done, even in this last game with these big throws he had, right? These really big, great throws that were accurate and excellently thrown. If Zach Wilson had done what Mike White had done in these first 5 starts, in his first 5 starts, we would have been like, holy shit. Right? Like, oh my God, this is the freaking guy. So again, Zach's still a young kid, but I mentioned it just the other week. All these, and again, we still think he can be the guy, but we're making excuses, right? So all these excuses we're making for Zach, why don't they apply to Mike White? I never understood that, right? We talked about that just last week, right? That with Zach, we're like, oh, he was a rookie his first year. He's learning. Oh, he's a second-year kid now. He's young. Well, Mike was basically a rookie last year. So why can't we say the same things? He's basically a second-year guy now. Why can't we say the same things? He's older because he wasn't getting opportunities. He's 27, but like we said, that ain't old. That ain't old. If he can be the guy and be great, he could be great for another decade. We've seen quarterbacks nowadays play awesome into pretty much their 40s, right? So Jeff points out, Jeff says Jets gang not sure the team and the coaches trust him right now. That's really the big thing too. Again, and I come back to what I was saying before. Zach's supposed to be having his reset, right? We said this isn't like he's making small mistakes. Like this isn't like, oh, he's not reading this play right, or oh, he's not seeing his progressions clearly. It's fucking everything, right? I mean, I hope Zach can be the guy, but it's freaking everything, right? Let's call a spade a spade. Literally, like we said, I was talking about it after that game. Literally, that one game had changed my take just a little, like is on Zach Wilson. From he can definitely be the guy to shit, this was bad, right? Like I even said, if a quarterback in their first game ever as a rookie had done what he did in that game, we would have been still hanging him out to dry. Been like, holy shit, this guy's not NFL ready. Like, what are we doing drafting him? So, like Robert Saleh said, he's got to retool, refocus. He has to fix everything. For a guy that has to fix everything, I don't know about you, but 2 to 3 weeks is not enough time, right? I mean, maybe he's a fast learner, right? Maybe he's a fast learner, but 2 to 3 weeks is a very short amount of time to fix those things. So if you, in my personal opinion, my 2 cents, if you really want Zach Wilson to have a true reset, he shouldn't see the field again this year. Even if Mike White plays bad, which I'm hoping and I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't, and I'm hoping that it's not going to happen. But let's say Mike isn't playing great. I don't even know if we should see Zach again for the fear that if he falls back into old habits, that's a problem, right? That's huge. We're trying to break him of old habits, bad habits. You can't let him fall back into them. So if we truly want Zach Wilson to have a real reset, I don't think he should see the field at all again. Like I'm literally thinking he's got to take the rest of this season, take the off season, completely fix everything, retool, and then maybe we've said it before, right? That we've seen great quarterbacks in the past struggle for their first 2 years and break out in their third. If that's what we want from Zach Wilson, then we need to give him the rest of the year. We need to give him the rest of the year to have a reset. But guys, I got to be honest, I'm loving what I'm seeing in Mike White. And again, I saw Michael Nania was reiterating. I got to love it because that dude, Michael Nania, shout out to him. He's on his P's and Q's. Like that dude knows what he's talking about. Like I mentioned to you guys before, I'm a big stat guy. I like stats, love stats, point them out all the time. I look at Mike's stuff and I'm like, I don't know shit. Like he's amazing. So man, shout out to Nanya saying this, literally thinking the same things I was. That those throws into those tight windows, perfect, man. Again, in a nutshell, the take. Mike White always taking what the defense gives him. We got the opportunity to see, well, what if the defense doesn't give him anything? What does Mike White do? He makes really good decisions. He makes really good, accurate throws, and he makes decisive throws. He didn't second guess himself once. He was confident and cool, right? We got to love that, right? He's freaking, I was going to say Joe Cool, but we got Joe Flacco. He's Mike Cool, right? He's Mike Cool. He's like, we got this. Don't worry. Like we said, like Mike said, he doesn't play hero ball. The only time he did was on that last play. And we thought that's the time to do it, right? The first interception wasn't his fault. That was blatant PI. That's the time to do it. When the game is on the line, you're down by a touchdown, you're in the red zone, there's no time left, you don't have any timeouts. That is the moment to, okay, make shit happen. Take a gamble. That's the moment. Other than that, cool, collected, hell accurate throws. Like again, we pointed out 2 weeks ago, right? I loved that throw to Elijah Moore because again, in double coverage, the throw was so perfect, it allowed Elijah to make the play into Moore. Well, same thing with Garrett's. Go back and check it. That 60-yard play to Garrett, he was in double coverage. If that ball was even a yard off target, it would have been picked. It was so perfectly dropped to Garrett. Garrett, if you watch, was able to stop, ping off those two guys, take the hit, and keep freaking going because it was such an amazing throw. And that's what you want for your quarterback. So again, the stats don't show it, right? People might look at the game and be like, oh, we blew it at the end. I liked what I saw. I really, really liked what I saw in Mike White. I really did. And again, I don't want to be let down. I don't want to be brokenhearted. But I really feel like I'm seeing a franchise quarterback here, right? Because we saw those games with the 80 something percent completion percentage. We saw when he balls out. Today, we got to see what Mike White does, or yesterday, we got to see again what Mike White does when the chips are on the line, when he's got to make it, put it on his back. Mike White put a lot of that shit on his back. And look at how big the Jet players balled out and how great the defense played, right? Shut their asses down. Like we said, Garrett Wilson almost had as many receiving yards as the whole, like, forget Justin Jefferson, the whole Vikings team. Like, beautiful, you guys. Beautiful. So, Benny, loving it, bro. Appreciate you being here, man. I think you're, let me know. I'm not sure if it's your first time here or not, but appreciate seeing you. I love your comments, man. All you guys, let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know your guys' thoughts. So, Benny says, let White finish the season, let them battle it out in training camp. It's exactly it. I mean, there's so many moving pieces. You know what I mean? There's so many what ifs that can happen. The beautiful what if again is we're in the playoffs right now, right? That's one thing I feel like we got to revel in the most, right? Like we lost that game. We're still in the playoffs, right, guys? We're still in the playoffs right now. How freaking awesome is that? We are in the playoffs for the first time right now in 12 years. We just have to keep it that way. So, what if Mike White gets us to the playoffs and wins a playoff game? Like, that's something crazy to think about. Like, if Mike White wins a playoff game, I'm pretty confident we're going to be crowning him. Like, I don't know about you guys, but we'll see on Jets Twitter. If Mike White wins a playoff game, I'm pretty sure the unanimous on Jets Twitter is going to be, we found him. He is here. Like, we have got him. So I don't know. But again, if you want Zach Wilson to be the guy, he needs time to reset. 2 weeks is not a reset. Not if, like we said, he was so bad, he's not even doing the things that we liked about him. Remember, that was my take on him. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck. I cursed like 50 times in that episode. You guys know I don't curse that much. I curse every once in a while. But I was like, I couldn't believe what the fuck I was seeing. Like everything. I was like, holy, it was crazy. Like he didn't even look like an NFL quarterback. Like it was insane. So if he's going to real tool, he needs time to do that. I think, again, he shouldn't see the field at all. I think he's got to take it into the offseason. And shit, again, if Mike White plays really well, they can compete against each other, right? So you're telling me we're going into next season with, if Mike White keeps winning, maybe potentially wins a playoff game, and a quarterback that's supposed to be great that had all this time to retool, right? Robert Saleh and the coaching staff had all this time to work with him. He had all the rest of the games and into the offseason. That could be an exciting situation. That could definitely. So Jeff points out Zach needs to mature if he's going to lead these guys. Bro, that locker, and that's shout out, Jeff. Shout out, Jeff, because I've mentioned it in the past on other episodes as well. That's one of the biggest things, right? Mike White is beloved in this locker room. Like, forget loved. He is beloved. And here's my favorite quote. My favorite quote I want to give you guys. And you saw, as you know, I put out, excuse me, I put out, the news, the interviews and media stuff like that. They interviewed Garrett after the game, and Garrett Wilson's take on Mike White. Oh, you guys, his take. So Garrett Wilson on Mike White says, that boy is a dog, man. For real. He was out there controlling the huddle and never let the moment get too big. It was cool to see. And then, best part, I know I'd go to war for that boy. He's got something special about him. That last sentence, you guys saw, I put it out on Twitter originally, and then I put out again that last sentence because I thought about it, right? I marinated on it, and I'm like, shit. Garrett Wilson just said I would go to war for Mike White. So I don't know if you guys saw my show on my take on the post-game show with Italy Jet and all those guys yesterday. But I gave the take there. Man, you know what that tells me? And I don't think they don't like Zach Wilson, right? People are saying they don't like Zach Wilson. I don't think they don't like him. They just don't love him the way they love Mike White. So here's how I look at it. Garrett Wilson literally said, I know I'd go to war for that boy. So Garrett Wilson likes Zach Wilson. He does. He would kill a motherfucker for Mike White. That's the difference. That's the $1 million difference right there. Garrett Wilson, like Zach Wilson, he would flat out kill a motherfucker for Mike White. That's the point. Literally go to war for this dude. They love Mike White in that locker room, and that's what you want. You want your quarterback to have amazing chemistry with the team. And shout out to Mike White, all the things they've said about him. Garrett Wilson pointed it out just excuse me, just the other week as well when they asked him about Mike White's performance. He said this dude came in, was cut even a couple of times. We know that. Mike White's even been cut a couple of times. But he said Mike White came in as a third-string quarterback. Garrett Wilson said he watched Mike White take every rep he could. He took every rep he could, absorbed all the information he could. And then during the game, right before the game, they shouted out Mike White again, saying that one thing that's unique about him is most, third-string, second-string quarterbacks are too worried about their reps and everything. He said Mike White not only was taking all of his reps, when he was in the locker room, he was chilling with the guys. Like he was getting to know Garrett Wilson, getting to know Elijah Moore, getting to know everybody, like chilling with them. That's why when his number got called, they're like, that's my guy. Like, and he's a 5th-round pick that's had to scratch and claw for everything he's got. Right? He got no opportunities at multiple teams before he got to the Jets. Right? That was, if you guys remember my big take. I wanted him, if you guys remember, shout out. I always say check the receipts, back a couple, just the other year or so, or last year, I wanted Mike White to stay as QB2 because I really loved him. And we talked about his football IQ, right? Talked about how much I loved his football IQ prior to the draft process, but he never really got an opportunity. And he has all the intangibles you look for in a quarterback. It'd be interesting to see what he could do. I really wanted to see. And man, I am really liking what I'm seeing. I got to be honest, man. I really, really do. I am loving what we're freaking seeing in Mike White. So Jets Mess says we need at least 3 more wins at minimum. I mean, the way I look at it is if we're evaluating Mike White, we need to evaluate Mike White. I love wins. Don't get me wrong. Wins matter most. But we need to, like I was just saying with this last game, the Jets didn't win the game, but they played a quality team like the Vikings. Mike White couldn't take what the defense gave him. We need to evaluate Mike White. And again, I saw other people, like I mentioned Nania putting it out on Twitter as well. I was really impressed with what I saw. So 3 more wins would be amazing. I mean, we're in the playoffs right now, right? We are in the playoffs right now. But I want to see specifically, if we're evaluating Mike White, you're going to see me. I want wins. Don't get me wrong. I want W's. Give me W's all day of the week. But I'm going to be coming to you guys with evaluating Mike White. I'm going to be coming to you guys with, telling you what I think about his play, what he did here. So 3 wins definitely would be great. Don't get me wrong, man. Let's get into the playoffs, right? Mike White could get us into the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game. Who knows? Who knows, right? Once you make the playoffs, anything's possible, right? Like we said, we don't want to jinx it. Don't want to jinx it, but the Eagles have shown that you can win a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, right? They've shown that before. So just saying, right? Just saying. But man, excuse me. I would love 3 more wins. I absolutely would. But we got to evaluate, like we said with this last game, evaluating Mike White. I love what I saw. I absolutely love what I saw for all the reasons we were talking about. Benny points out, shout out Benny, it is true. He's saying the Jets defense is still having tackling issues. Bro, this is something maybe you can help me with because this was kind of making me crazy. They are having tackling issues. But how about the fact that our defense is also leveling dudes, right? Let's talk about that for a sec. Like, we got multiple dudes that are just freaking wrecking balls. Like, basically our whole linebacker room, right? Even CJ Mosley, but Quan Alexander, Quincy Williams, those 2 dudes are just freaking wrecking balls. Quinnen's a wrecking ball. Everyone's a freaking wrecking ball. So maybe you can help me with this one. That's what makes me a little crazy. Like, I'm watching our defense, like, laying dudes out, like murdering people. And then there's other plays where, like, a running back looks like a freaking, what do you call it? Like in the pinball machine, the tilt where he's just bouncing off of everybody. Like, right? Like, it feels like it's one or the other. Like, either we're laying dudes the hell out and we're like, yeah, he just got murdered. Or there's like 5 missed tackles. Right? I feel like there's no in between right now. So yeah, you're 100% right. And Robert Saleh admitted that. And that's important to have a head coach that's cognizant of what needs to be fixed, right? He did say, not this week, but he did say last week that tackling was an issue and that was something that needed to be fixed. Again, I find it kind of weird because like I said, we're laying dudes out. Like, it feels like excuse me, it's a weird combination, right? Like we're laying dudes the fuck, like literally murdering dudes, and then other plays where it's like bing, 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 and you can't tackle somebody. So it is a little weird in that way, in my opinion. So shout out to all you guys. We got Return of the Jedsy, Rusty Spooner. What's up, Rusty Spooner? I don't know if you were here before, but good to see you, man. Good to see you. Appreciate you tuning in. Rusty Spooner says, let White finish. This was certainly, definitely, mostly on the floor. A lot of adjectives there. Certainly, definitely, mostly. So, I mean, I definitely felt like it wasn't the most creative play calling, right? It definitely didn't feel like the most creative play calling. But let's do remember the fact that, and I want to bring up all the numbers, including the running game here. Here we go. The Jets almost had 500 yards. We held the Vikings to only 287 and only once, excuse me, only 173 receiving, which again is incredible. That Garrett Wilson himself almost had as many receiving yards as the whole freaking Vikings team. Like, I love that statistic. That's just amazing. But we had close to 500 yards and we ran a lot of plays. The biggest thing was the red zone. That's the biggest thing, right? The biggest thing was the red zone. We didn't execute in the red zone. That's definitely a fact. So I'm not like hating LaFleur as much for this performance. Like, it's not like the whole thing was awful. Again, Mike White cooked, right? Mike White did cook, right? He made some really good throws, some really good decisions, and very accurate throws, and made a bunch of really good plays. But we have to remember the Vikings defense showed up. That's a fact. Their defense showed up. That being said, yes, definitely the red zone offense could have been a lot better. That is a fact. That could have been a lot better. So Rusty also saying glad Salah is having a closed conference with him. Yep, that's good. You know, that's always good. That's always good. Appreciate the sup. Appreciate the What's Up Harrison and Gangrene family. Appreciate you, brother. Let's go Jets, right? Jets. Yeah, buddy. Love it. Love it, Rusty. So good to see you, man. Good to see all you guys. You know, like I tell you guys, please let me know your guys' thoughts. Let me know what you guys are thinking. You can totally disagree with me, right? You could be like, I'm out of my fucking mind. Yeah, I'm not making any sense. Feel free to disagree, but I love bringing you guys my takes. I love talking to you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. Really appreciate, love talking to you guys. So Jenny points out, shout out to Jenny. Jenny says, huge test against the Bills and a White redemption game. I want to read the rest of it, but even just that first part, I don't know if he really needs a redemption game as much. Again, pointing out, right, the numbers weren't good. The stats weren't good, but I thought he played really well. Again, I thought, like we said before, in a game where he couldn't just take what the defense gave him, and we saw him trying to in the beginning, right? For the love of God, we saw him trying to. It wasn't there, right? A lot of throws were behind wide receivers or in really good coverage. It forced him to make decisions and take more risks. And I liked them, right? I really, like we were saying before, I really liked the decisions he made. I really liked the choices he made. I thought he read the field like they did 2 weeks ago, right? Like he did 2 weeks ago. He read the field beautifully. I think in the beginning of the game, part of that disconnect was him trying to take what the defense was giving him, and it just wasn't there. Then we saw like a switch. You guys noted it specifically in the second half, right? Specifically in the second half, it was almost like Mike White was like, okay, I need to start making things happen, right? I need to make things happen. And like we said, the only bad play was really that interception at the end of the game. And like we said, if you're going to play hero ball, that's the time to do it. Didn't do it the whole rest of the game, right? Whole rest of the game, great throws, clean throws, calculated throws, great decisions, really accurate, but took a risk at that last one. So Jenny says, really will tell us so much about him and our team's readiness for playoffs or not. Couldn't get it done yesterday. That was the biggest shame that we really couldn't get it done. That was the biggest shame, but we almost did, right? We have to remember that, right? We went into Minnesota on a 9-2 team, right? Like we said before, they're 9-2 for a reason, right? They're now 10-2, right? You don't be that good for no reason, right? It just doesn't work like that. So we couldn't get it done. Sucks, but we had a lot of opportunities, and Mike White cooked, man. Mike White cooked and made a lot of really great plays, and our offense flashed. Part of our offense flashed, and I want to come back to your guys' comments as well, but I mentioned it before. I said we were going to put a pin in it. I want to talk about Zonovan Knight because you guys know Bam Bam, right? Which is now shortened to Bam. Started out as Bam Bam. Now he's Bam Knight. Mr. Bam Knight. You guys know that was the guy I wanted on the 53. I was like, cut Ty Johnson. Doesn't make any sense. I wanted Bam Knight on the 53. As you guys know, I've mentioned it. You guys know when I watch college football, I tend to watch more ACC. I watched a good amount of Bam Knight, just like I watched a good amount of Michael Carter the year before, and I liked him so much. And remember, same year actually, but remember Michael Carter, sorry, not same year, year after, but Michael Carter literally said the same thing, right? Just earlier this season, when we got Bam Knight, he said, I played against him. I couldn't believe he went undrafted. And I was pretty surprised too. You look at what he did in college, the numbers are pretty damn impressive. Zonovan Knight was a baller, guys. So he came in and he balled in the preseason. He balled in the preseason, and I feel like he fits our offense really, really well. So want to point out what Robert Saleh said about Bam Knight. They asked Robert Saleh after the game. Robert Saleh said, we love the way he runs. He said he's a north and south kind of runner, and he's got a burst to him. He's got a little extra juice. He said, I think he showed it today, especially on that long run. He runs violently. He's doing a really nice job. Guys, Bam Knight in his second game ever, right? He played in the preseason, but regular season, in his second NFL game ever, he had 90 rushing yards and he averaged 6 yards per run. He carried the ball 15 times and averaged 6 yards a carry. He had 90 yards. And let's look at over his first 2 starts, right? Because Bam Knight only played his first game last week, right? Only played his first game last week, and he balled out. In fact, he had over 100 total yards. So let's look at this for a sec. Bam Knight, over his first 2 NFL games, has 29 carries for 159 yards, 5.5 yards a carry is the average. He was targeted 8 times in the receiving game. He caught them all. He has an 100% catch percentage. He has 62 yards, but more importantly, he has 100 plus total yards in both of his first 2 starts. Excuse me. And as you guys know, he's an undrafted free agent. He's a UDFA. We pointed out last week, he was the only NFL rookie running back this year to have 100 plus total yards in his first game, and he's an undrafted dude. Now in 2 games, he has back-to-back 100 total yards, and he almost had 100 yards receiving, period. Again, Bam Knight in his second game had 90 rushing yards and averaged 6 yards a carry. And he only played half of the offensive snaps. You got to take that into fact too. We just mentioned all the amazing numbers Bam Knight put up. He only played half the offensive snaps in both of those games. Man, I think it's time to feed Bam Bam a little bit more, right? Give Zonovan the rock. Man, Zonovan is awesome. Like I mentioned, he's a guy I initially wanted on the 53. He is killing it, man. So I'm thinking Bam Knight killing it right now. Michael Carter will be back pretty soon. Breece Hall, when he returns next year, we got James Robinson too. I'm thinking, is our running back room even legal? Like, is it legal? Are they going to say it's an illegal backfield? Like, man, you guys, next year, Breece Hall back, Michael Carter, Bam, Zonovan Knight, and James Robinson? That is the best running back room in the NFL. Like, I don't even think there's a running back room that comes close to that. So, man, that's exciting. That is exciting. But right now, I think it's about seeing what Zonovan can do, because we fed him the rock 15 times. He had almost 100 rushing yards, and he only saw half the carries. Sorry, he only saw half the snaps. He only played about 50% of the snaps in each of these games. Time to see more Bam. Time to let Bam run that rock, man. Bam looks awesome. And again, this is a guy, like I know many of you guys agree with me, I want to see him on the 53-man roster. I want to see him there always. So Jets mess points out, see Zach in 2023. 100%, man. And like we were saying before, I mentioned it to you guys before. I won't give the whole take again, obviously. But if he's going to reset, he needs more time, right? We can't throw him back out there for the risk of him falling back into old habits. If you truly want him to reset, and he is as bad as we saw he was, and he has to literally get back to fundamentals, it takes more than just a few weeks, right? So I think you guys agree with me, right? If Zach really is getting a true reset, I don't want to see him again. I don't want to see him again. I want him to have the offseason and let's see what this kid can become, right? But right now we're riding the Mike White train, right? Who knows? Mike White could get us into the playoffs. Mike White could win us playoff games. Like, who knows? Let's just ride this right now, baby. It is a train that I'm loving. It's like, well, let's let Zachary Toole and see what he can be. Can he be all those great things that we thought he could be? And look what Mike White's doing. It's beautiful. And again, guys, we've been hurt before. We've been hurt before, so I'm very trepidatious to say it. But like I mentioned with those games in the past, if Zach had done what if Zach had done in his first few starts what Mike has done, we would have been heralding him. And Mike's a 5th-round pick. Excuse me. He's had substantially less opportunities. So I'm like, what can this kid be, right? I feel like we're looking at him the wrong way, right? We should be giving him all these opportunities because of how good he's looked, right? We give Zach all these opportunities. He's again in his 2nd year playing. What he's done is incredible. We've talked about the numbers. We've talked about the records. In his first 4 starts, he had 2 record-setting games. Like, again, I'm so afraid, but after what I saw this last week, right? What does Mike White do when the defense isn't giving him the plays, right? If he can't take what the defense is giving him, what is he going to do when he has to put the game on his back? I loved it. Like we said, we talked about it just before. I freaking loved it, you guys. I loved what I saw from him. So again, I'm afraid because we've been hurt. We've been hurt so many times, but I want to say I really feel like we might have a franchise quarterback in Mike White, you guys. I really want to say it. I really feel like we might have finally found our franchise quarterback. And like we said, if it's the case, how beautiful, right? How perfect, right? Like we said, our defense is one of the best in the NFL. Our offense has so many great weapons. Next year, ADT's back. Next year, Breece Hall's back. We were like, we just need a quarterback. And again, it's but if it's Mike White, we fell into it. We always get the shittiest luck, right? We've had the shittiest fucking luck when it comes to quarterbacks, right? With drafting quarterbacks. Obviously, we don't know what Zach Wilson is yet, but in the past, with drafting quarterbacks and bringing in quarterbacks, we've been like, we watch teams with 4,000-yard quarterbacks like every season, and we're like, we want one of those. Like, where's mine? Like, guys, it would be so amazing. A 5th-round pick that nobody saw coming. A true Cinderella story. A Tom Brady-like story, right? Like Benny points out, yeah, man, that's what I'm saying, bro. It's nice seeing a Jets quarterback make those big throws. It was exciting. Again, like I mentioned it earlier, I don't want to shit on Zach. I don't. But when he's been in those situations where they're not giving him anything and he has to put the game on his back, we've seen the mistakes, right? We've seen the mistakes. That's why I love what I saw with Mike White. He didn't make mistakes. He played smart. He played well. He made unbelievable throws. Again, those tight windows. I can't stress enough how tight the windows were that Mike White was throwing in, which was showing his progressions, him reading the field, making a decision, and throwing the ball with excellent accuracy and decisively. It's everything you get. I don't want to get too excited too yet, but it's everything you want in a franchise quarterback. So I'm just excited, man. I'm just excited. So Benny points out White wins a playoff game and you need to sign him. He's a free agent this offseason. Bro, if White wins a playoff game, his ass ain't going anywhere. I mean, I don't think he's going to at this point right now either. I mean, even if he plays okay from here on out, the coaching staff can't deny it, right? We've said, right? Everyone's been saying the coaching staff sees what Zach Wilson's doing, right? They see that he's got the lowest completion percentage, all this stuff, right? We see what Zach Wilson is doing. Well, then they also have to see what Mike White is doing. They have to see the amazing numbers and the records and the stats that he's putting up. I can't see Mike White going anywhere, you guys. I don't see a scenario right now where Mike White goes anywhere. Anywhere. That's just my 2 cents. Benny points out, yeah, the Jets defense did have no turnovers, and that was a big fact as well. Again, I mentioned it before. The Vikings are a good team. We came at it again like they have such a bad passing defense. We're going to throw all over them. We mentioned it before. It's human beings, right? Sometimes they have great games, sometimes they have bad games, right? We've seen great defenses play poorly. We've seen, like yesterday, bad passing defenses play well. They didn't give Mike White anything, literally anything. He had to get everything that he got in that game. So, yeah, there were no turnovers because, again, Minnesota, a really good team, their offense played well. Their offensive line was excellent. And I kind of, mentioned that going into the game as well, if you guys remember, that the Vikings have a really good offensive line. So our pass rush was going to have, a little bit of a struggle. They played well. The Minnesota Vikings offense played well. Granted, we shut their asses down, though. We have to remember that. We shut them down specifically in the passing game. They ran on us. That's the thing. We got to remember that, right? Like, we do have to take that into account. They ran not all over us, but I guess Dalvin Cook kind of did, right? Dalvin Cook had 20 carries and he averaged over 4 yards a carry. That's not good. That's not good. And Matheson had that huge run. They ran a lot on us, but man, passing wise, we really shut them down. We really did. Again, their defense played well and they did just enough. That's the point. Minnesota did just enough. Justin Jefferson shut down the whole game, did just enough at the end, got that touchdown, like DJ Reed said. He said, I had his ass on lockdown, right? He said, I had his shit all game, but that last touchdown, he gave up, right? So other than that, he killed it, right? Sauce and him killed it. Sauce and DJ were amazing, you guys. Like we said, the whole Minnesota Vikings team had basically as many receiving yards as just Garrett Wilson did. Shows how good Mike White was throwing the ball around, right? Garrett Wilson ain't throwing it to himself, right? Garrett Wilson's getting the ball from Mike White. Garrett Wilson had an unbelievable game. Garrett Wilson, career high in targets, 15, career high in yards, 162, averaged over 20 yards per reception, had that humongous 60-yard catch, which again was perfect. It was a perfect throw right on target, allowing Garrett Wilson in double coverage to make that play and get more yardage. Just awesome, right? Benny, you nailed it. Benny, if there was a hammer and a nail, you just knocked it right in. You just put it right in, bro, because that's literally, what I was saying just the other week, right? I was saying that Zach was the second overall pick. That's why we're giving him all this, and again, not saying he can't be the guy, right? I do want to, not saying Zach can't be the guy. But you guys remember just last week, I was saying, right, that with Zach Wilson, we're giving him, he's a young kid. He's a rookie. He makes mistakes, right? He's learning, right? Always his sophomore year. He'd be having a sophomore slump. He's still a young kid. Gets more opportunities because he was a number 2 overall pick. But you should look at it as he's had every opportunity. He's had every advantage. Mike White is not. For what Mike White is doing, he's scrounging his way from the bottom, unlike the other guy that's starting with all the opportunities. So that's a really exciting thing. And again, Mike White just not getting enough credit for that. So again, you guys gave you, my whole take on Mike White. But again, I don't want to let myself too hyped, but I really feel like what I saw in that game, the way he made his throws, the decisions he made, the accuracy he had, the tight windows he threw into, the decisions he made, I really feel like I think we found our quarterback. I think we might have found our franchise quarterback. And it's so beautiful. If that is the case, right? I'd love to see, we have to see more of it, obviously, have to see more of it. But if that's the case, it's just so beautiful. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys being here, being part of my Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. Appreciate you guys listening in. In the comments, like always, always let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I always love chatting it up with you. Really, really love you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So yeah, as you guys know, I try to bring you as much content as I can through the week. My job is very cumbersome, as you guys know. I work really, really long hours, so I try to bring you as much as I can. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in. It's always a pleasure to chat it up with you guys. Really love, all your guys' thoughts, all your guys' comments, chatting it up, hearing what you guys think, me giving you guys my takes. Absolutely love it. Really appreciate you guys. Let's get a win, right? This Sunday, right? We're going into Buffalo, and again, Buffalo's going to want a little revenge, right? I mean, we beat them. Buffalo's, and we kind of cooked on Josh Allen, right? We kicked Josh Allen's butt. They're going to kind of want revenge. But let's get a W, man. Let's go into Buffalo. And if we win in Buffalo, if Mike White has a big game, you know what the conversation's going to be. We found him. It's going to be, we found him. So let's do it, man. Let's go into Buffalo. Let's kick some freaking ass. Mike White, let's cook, baby. Let's do what you did this last week, but let's translate it into a win. Let's go, baby. Let's win. Jets, 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 Jets. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys next time.